All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Best Boys Center Ice podcast, episode number 5. And you're with Barry Besse and my son, Carson Besse. As I always say, Carson is the brains and the looks of the outfit here. As we normally do, we'd like to start out with some shout-outs to the I Am Refocused Radio Network with Shemaya Reed. We're on that network along with Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League. And you can get us our podcast on there the next day. Right now, of course, you're watching it live on Facebook, and we encourage everybody to come out and join us tonight for our episode. It's also available tomorrow on Spreaker and also in the Best Boys Center Ice podcast YouTube page. And, of course, we also have our TikTok pages that Carson and I both do a lot of post-game stuff with as far as the Oilers and the Penguins are concerned. So, well, let's get into it. We both, our teams had a pretty good week. I think, especially the Penguins and especially Sid Crosby.
Oh, yeah.
He won. I think he got the third star of the week.
He did, yeah.
And this is also the first time ever that Ovechkin and Crosby have gotten
in the same week.
In the same week. So we want to start with the Penguins. Like I said, Carr, they're coming up.
Yeah.
They still got some stuff I think they have to work out.
Yes.
But I think they've got some things down, and the players are starting to play a lot better over the last week or so.
I mean, they had a good week. 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Can't complain with that. I mean, they played 3 games. They played Minnesota on last Tuesday, and then they played Anaheim on Thursday, and then Hockey Night in Canada against Montreal on Saturday. And, the Minnesota game was a bit of a bummer. They lost 5-3. Fleury's send-off game, if you want to say. A game that we definitely should have had, to be honest. We were up 2-0. Another theme of it is that they gave up that lead rather quick. Within a minute. It was gone. And, they couldn't recover from Minnesota's attack. And didn't stand a chance after that, and unfortunately Fleury came in clutch at the end of that game, making some big saves, and that's just sometimes how it's going to be. I really didn't think they played all that great that game either, but we didn't play all that great either, so I mean I wasn't too upset with that loss, but frustrating when you can't hold a lead down, that's for sure. And then we headed to the Anaheim game, and that was a different game. I mean, I thought there was going to be a lot of goals in that game, and there wasn't. It was 2-1,
Yeah.
And we doubled their shots. We had finished with 46, and I think Anaheim at 23.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly doubled their shot total, and it was an overtime game. You'll take those wins. We've been actually pretty good in overtime. I think we've won every game that's gone to overtime except the one when the Calgary game. We've won all the overtime games, and the power play's been good. It's scored a lot of goals too. It had one in the Minnesota game. We had one in the Montreal game. So that's been in the PK too. I think it's 5th or 6th right now in the league, which is great. Sid had a great game in that Anaheim game. He was all over the puck, and he had that the overtime goal. I felt bad for the goalie, Dostal. He played such a good game. I couldn't believe that he was holding them in like that, and he was, and he's able to juke him out and get him to bite, and he scored on it. And then the Montreal game, another game that was kind of worrisome at first because we were dominating that game. For the good majority of it, and Montreal, we had a 2-0 lead in that game. Montreal scored one to come close, but it didn't matter. Sid scored twice in that game again, and we got an empty netter to end that game off, and Ned played really well in that game as well as the Minnesota game. He's only allowed 2 goals in the last 2 games, which is something to be happy with the team, is in the last 2 games only 2 goals allowed. That's been a big problem, is keeping the puck out of the net. And they are able to hold them off and hold on a 2-game winning streak now heading into today's game against the Islanders, which is going to be an interesting one in Long Island. It'd be nice to win that one because then on Thursday they go to Carolina, which I'm not looking forward to that very much. But
yeah, that's the bugaboo.
That's got it. You got to play every team, and it's funny. We only play them 3 times yet. I feel like we play them every 3 weeks, 2 weeks we're playing them, but. Maybe there's a miracle coming in that game. I don't know. The top lines look a lot better having the 2 big guns together. They just got to keep doing it. I think keep that there, because that's what was really missing, was that first line being really good. The bottom is good. The bottom six has been fine. It's just the top six hasn't. So I think that's made them look a lot better. But overall, really happy. I mean, they move up in the standings. You know, at this point, it's so early in the season, you're not that far behind. You just continue to win games. If you can win, 5 of it, or 7 or 8, maybe, you're in a good spot. But they need to get as many points as they can to make up for all the losses at the beginning.
Yeah.
But again, 4 out of 6 points. They're scoring goals or just not able to hold leads. Hopefully that's something they can kind of bear down on and not wilt at every set of pressure. But I'm pretty satisfied, and hopefully just the trend we're seeing keeps going, because they're looking pretty good, and Ned's looking good. That's something you want to see for sure.
Is Sullivan's job secure for now?
Unfortunately, well, yeah, but I mean, I think it's just kind of a cycle that's going to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Hopefully they can just keep winning. If they keep winning, I'm going to be happy no matter what.
Hey, Dennis, thank you for joining us here tonight on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. We'll get to some NHL stuff coming up as well. The Oilers, much like the Penguins, went 2-1 this past week since we were last with you. They, of course, the night before we had the podcast was the game against Columbus, where the Oilers lost Connor McDavid. Well, since then they've gone 2-1, and they're now 6-1 on the year. So they're tied for third place in the Pacific, coming from the basement, literally. So, like Carson said, you just got to keep winning, and you're early enough in the season where you can get some wins together. And
like, you're not that far behind. There's only 13 games in. It's not that.
No, so that's a better position than the Oilers were in last year. So they beat Nashville Thursday 5-1, and then Calgary Sunday. That was a big game, 4-2. Last night losing to New Jersey, but they outplayed New Jersey last night. Calvin Pickard was in net, and he really played very well. There was a power. He gave up another power play goal. The PK is absolutely terrible. And the Oilers did get a power play goal. Pickard played. I thought he played really well. He made some saves that kept him in it, but there was just a couple of mistakes that led to goals.
Tighten up for sure.
Yeah, it was the hallmark of the Stanley Cup run last year. And then I thought the team played very well. They had the majority of the scoring chances. Just that Jake Allen was
when
lights out.
You're on as a goalie.
Yeah, he was lights out as a goalie. McDavid did skate with the team on Monday, and they're thinking now that possibly a return could be as early as next week against the Islanders. But we'll just see what happens.
If they keep winning, they'll keep him out for a little bit. Let him get 100% before you rush him back.
Yeah, and everybody's picked it up. Especially Leon Draisaitl. He's got 6 points in the last 3 games since McDavid's been out, and you expect that from your second best player, is to be able to take things over. And everybody else has come to play too. Even the defense has tightened up a little bit. There's still some holes that need to be filled, but I really think the Oilers are moving towards Calvin Pickard being the starting goaltender and Stu being the backup. Either way, you got to have 2 good, solid goaltenders going through in this league. That I'm not. That could possibly happen. We'll see.
It's not for sure, but I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think Pickard seems to me, when you look at the 2 goaltenders play, to me Pickard looks like he's the more confident of the 2 right now. And not to say, they made a big change in the Vancouver series last year.
Yeah. And
it sparked Stu. Who knows? Hopefully,
he can find himself.
Yeah, he can find himself, and the Oilers can get right back into that race. They've got a tough week coming up. Tomorrow is the big one at home against Vegas, and then they're in Vancouver on Saturday, home to the Islanders on Tuesday, and then Nashville for the third and final time in like 3 weeks. They're playing Nashville at home, so. A good opportunity for the Oilers. Like Carson said, if they keep winning, they'll probably keep McDavid on the shelf for a little bit longer, but it all depends. I just think that the team is playing really exceptionally well without him in the lineup, and you've said it. It's sometimes...
That's what you need, is some kick in the butt to be like, look, everybody's got to play together and play for a purpose and win these games. Doesn't matter how pretty it is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a big scoring game and you can't stop the puck, score one more than the other team.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be a 1-0 game, then muck it in the corner as much as you can and grind the game as much as you can to keep the clock going and win the game like that. No matter how you can win it, win the game. I think that's the mentality you see from the Oilers right now is win the game.
And then their forechecking has been really good over the last few
The
games
little
as well.
details, and you realize over time, the little details really matter. So those forechecks, if you don't forecheck, that could lead to a scoring chance if you don't forecheck. But you do, so you get the puck, you kill time, you kill a scoring chance, whatever.
Right.
You bat the puck out of midair when they're doing a pass, that could lead to a scoring chance, possibly goal. Doesn't happen.
Right.
So they're playing really good team. Even yesterday's game, losing, you're going to have games like that. You play good and you just don't win. It happens in this league. It happens in every sport. You play a great game and it just doesn't the result. There's nothing to be discouraged about for the Oilers after last night. They played a really good game. Just one of those performances, a goalie's ready to go, and that's it. You move on to the next game. You don't hang your head on this one, and you go to the next game against Vegas because that game's going to be big, and you get that game out of the way and move on.
Yeah, I think the Oilers are in a pretty good spot right now, as are the Penguins.
Yes.
Like you're within striking distance. Like you can't ask for anything.
No, I mean, I was thinking the other day, even after the Minnesota game, we were 3-7-1, and if you lose, no game is easy in the NHL. You're playing an Anaheim team that's lower in the standings but has some talent and a great goalie. You're playing a Montreal team that's hungry, that needs to win, and that's desperate for a win. And they've had that conversation from their head coach. St. Louis is like these guys, he's let them know that they need to be better. Yeah. You're playing hungry hockey teams. You lose both those games, you're down to 3-9-1. That is a way different number than 5-7-1. You win today against the Islanders, you're 6-7-1. You're basically at 500.
Yep.
So, take it every game, one game at a time, and get as many points, grab as many points as you can. Even 1 point's better than none. But big weeks for our teams. Best weeks so far of the year together for our studio, to be honest. We'll very much take it, but now that we're done with kind of our team runs for the week, since we talked about our schedules, we'll kind of move on to league stuff.
I just want to throw out, first off, Austin Matthews is out for the Leafs. He's day-to-day. They said upper body injury.
They have a big game. They're playing Boston today.
Yeah, they're playing Boston tonight. It's probably underway already.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what happened. Honestly, I didn't watch the game, so I don't know what. Yeah, injury.
I tried to find highlights, and I couldn't. I just saw the
report. It might have been maybe a minor contact injury. Something else I really want to talk about. I don't know. You know what? I'm not trying to be a hater on the Leafs. I'm not. But I look at that game as a big rivalry game. Boston just beat them last weekend. Actually, when I was in Vancouver, I was watching that game in my hotel room. On Hockey Night in Canada, they beat them. The Bruins beat the Leafs. The Bruins consistently beat the Leafs. I get it. Injuries happen. But I feel like that's a game you can't miss as a captain. You're playing your arch rival. If you know the game, you know this rivalry. Bruins have had the Leafs number for how many times? Yeah. This is a game I don't think you can miss as the captain. You never know what's going on behind closed doors. Maybe he can't play, but I feel like that's a captain. You can't miss that game. You can't. But we'll see what happens. Maybe for the Leafs, it sparks something like what the Oilers have had, that they'll play a really good game and win tonight, but both teams out of those need a win. Toronto, they're not. I don't know if you saw this. Their power play is 31st in the league.
Is it
that
31st?
10%?
Wow.
And they got a power play goal in their last game, so they were 32nd at an 8.2, and they're at now 10% and 31st in the league.
And so you don't expect that of a team with that kind of fire. Well, same with the Oilers. They're
no, and even Matthews has 5 goals. I mean, he had 69 last year. He's probably on pace maybe for 35, 40. Yeah. But that's going to be an interesting game tonight. I'd imagine, honestly, Boston wins that game. I think it is in Boston, but we'll see what happens with that.
I just think that the Leafs' chemistry is just not there, and it hasn't been for a long time.
That team, we've mentioned it so many times, that team is too front-loaded. I give credit. Those players are talented that they have, but there's too much cap in those select 4 or 5 guys to make a whole team. They don't have a whole team. They have a line or two that can score, and the rest of them can't. and it's unfortunate how it's played out that way. I feel like those guys just kind of more want the check and don't really want to win. I don't know. I know it's regular season, but even then, if you have that winning mentality,
Well,
if Gretzky's playing against Calgary, he's not missing this game.
No.
If y'all are playing Calgary, you think McDavid's going to be, or Draisaitl's not going to play?
No.
They're going to do their best to play. I know it's not a big rivalry anymore, but we're playing Washington or Philly. Mm-hmm. It's not missing that game. No.
But if you can go out there and use your legs,
you're playing the game.
You're playing in the game. If it's a lower leg and something that you can't skate properly, okay. Yeah. But if you're upper body and it's a little bit sore, look, Evander Kane played how long with hernia? So
I get it though. I mean, you know what? You never know what's going on behind closed doors. I just hope, for the sake of him, that he's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But I think that's pretty crazy. That's unfortunate to miss a game like this. Mm-hmm. Next, we'll kind of move on to the next thing. A big kind of developing story, I guess, before we get to the standings part of this, is that Ovi's really close to the record. He's only 35 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record.
5 this past week.
So. He's 35 goals away from being the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer, which is going to be insane when he breaks it. I'm really excited to see it, even though he's an arch rival as a team goes. As a hockey fan, you can't not be excited for this. This is history. We're watching history. We're about to watch him break the goal-scoring record.
A record that nobody ever thought it was ever going to be broken.
No. And, I mean, if he breaks it, no one's ever going to touch that.
No.
So I'm happy to see him get close to it. I can't wait to see him break it. I anticipate probably next season he'll break it if he's on this pace he's on. He could probably
he's on pace for 52 this year if he keeps going.
Let's see
which would break the record.
Let's see what happens. I'm hoping that he does it and can get the record. It'd be cool for the sport. Definitely an unforgettable moment for the sports world, because there's not been a big record like that's been broken in sports in a long time. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I am too, because it's, as an Oiler fan and watching Gretzky all those years, you want to have your guy as being the record holder.
But everybody knows Gretzky's the greatest player ever. Now, do you think he'll get it, and his record-breaking goals are going to be his patented goal? His one-timer from the dot?
It would be it would be fitting if it was on if it was on the power play, and if it was from that spot on the dot.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see it happen, no matter, even if it, because the chances are it's probably going to be against a divisional team because they play the division.
You know that as you get closer, the NHL is going to be focusing on Washington.
That's
games.
Definitely a game you can't miss if you're in the area to go to see history or even watch it. If that game's on, I'm going to have it on. You can see history live.
Now, imagine, if you will, and I don't know when this happens this season, but if Washington is in Dallas and it's close, within like a goal or two, you may have to make a trip up to Dallas to see that in person. But like Carson said, it doesn't matter. It's history. Like last year during the playoffs, during the Stanley Cup final, the Oilers were trying to make the whole history.
You know what? I think that honestly captured more of the attention from the sports community than any of the other sports did. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew the Oilers had a chance to make history that hadn't been made in any sport in forever. Mm-hmm. To come back from 3-0 down to nearly win the Cup. Everybody was invested in that series, and unfortunately didn't go, but it led to good drama and for sure good ratings.
I think the best ratings they've had. The best
finals we've seen in the
Stanley Cup finals.
With that kind of wrapped up with Ovi's stuff, maybe we'll go more towards the teams that I kind of wanted to talk about that are, there's some teams trending upwards that are surprising, that are also downwards that are surprising. Yeah. I'll start with upwards. Minnesota.
Yeah, where are they coming from?
A team that didn't make the playoffs last year, and they, I think this year they've only trailed in game time for less than 60 minutes, which is crazy to see that. I think they're something like, was it 7-0-2 or something like that, where they haven't lost a game in regulation yet. They beat the Leafs the other day, which I posted this on Facebook. What a disaster in overtime.
Oh, that was terrible.
Did you see? So yeah. They almost thought that Domi was going to beat him to the puck. So they all go off on a change and a great pass. Yeah. But you have nobody back. That's great. You leave your goalie out to dry anyways.
I think Minnesota's 8 1-1.
Yes, there's something.
There's something like
ridiculous
that. They're like
good for them. You know what? That fan base is good, and that team is an interesting team that keep an eye
They're
on.
only behind Winnipeg in the Central Division.
But Winnipeg's been up there since the beginning. They're 11-1, which is, or 11-1-0, which is crazy. You know, even Washington's really high up there, which I did not expect. But again, it's a long season. You never know. But it'd be interesting to see them back in the playoffs again, and hopefully a better rep than what they gave last year against the Rangers.
Yeah.
You know, Edmonton's trending up there.
Pittsburgh is
we're
trending
making
up
our
there.
way up there a little bit. Columbus is another team that's kind of hanging in the mix. They're pretty much at 500, which is cool. They deserve it, that's for sure. Some teams that are definitely shocking. Nashville still cannot figure out what's going on.
They can't win.
They lost last night to LA, and they go to a record of 4-7-1 with
all
that
talent and they paid the most in free agency this year, and they are at the bottom of the league.
You don't even look at the forward groups there, and you look at the defense and the goaltending. You don't understand how that team's not better. They have one of the best defensive cores in the whole league, and goaltending. UC Soros is such a great goalie, and then you get to the forwards, you're like, holy, you've got stack, and it's just not working. They can't win games. They win one game, they lose 3 or 4 games. Long season ahead, but that's definitely something to be concerned of.
Colorado still.
Yeah, they've got a lot of injury. They have
they've got a lot of injuries.
So it's insane how many injuries they had. They had to have a defenseman play forward the other day because of how behind they are in injuries. Calgary's starting to fall a little bit. They've lost a few games. Boston and Toronto. Toronto is down there. Boston's down there. Lots of teams are, but definitely Nashville's the one to be the most concerned about because you don't have much time in that division to make your way back, and they have so much. They don't have any excuse to be bad.
Yeah,
because they made the most work out of everybody in free agency, and it's not paying off.
No,
they're not winning any games, and they're getting blown out for the most part. I mean, they got beat 3-0 by the Kings last night. They at home. Y'all beat them 5-1 at home the other day. They're not playing like a team. No. There's no chemistry there. No one's performing. It's very sad, and you wonder what's going on behind closed doors. If anything's going to happen behind the bench this year, that might be the team with the hottest seat because of that, because they'd made so many moves in the off season, and it's not paying off.
You know, because they were a good team last year. They made the playoffs. They made the playoffs. They made a little bit of a run. You know, it caused a little bit of noise, and now they go and get all these guys. And you're right, they're like 4 wins. And
another one too to be concerned about it too is still Colorado because that goaltending situation's not pretty. I don't know what they're going to do about that. They got to figure something out because they got the talent to put the puck in the net, but they can't keep it out. And at the end of the day, in the playoffs, if you can't keep the puck out, you're not going to win the cup.
No.
You can score as many goals as you want. If you can't keep it out, that's going to be a big problem.
And Patrick, thank you for joining us here on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. So again, you know, interesting week coming up for both the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Edmonton Oilers. I'm hoping, you know, like that Vegas game to me is going to be the big one for the Oilers. Let's see where this team is as far as, because that's a team you got to beat if you want to get out.
In the playoffs,
you've got to beat Vegas, and I'm going to see Vegas and Edmonton play on December the 3rd in Vegas, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the atmosphere in that arena, and always look forward to seeing the Oilers play on the road. Really, that's about all I have for today. We really appreciate everybody who has jumped on and has really supported our podcast. And thanks again to the I Am Refocused Radio Network and Shemaiah Reed. If you want to see the rest of the sports done properly, you go to our buddy Rudy Campos Jr. and sweep the league. We'll take care of the hockey part, Rudy. No worries. And post game, always, except for me, the last couple of games I've been off.
Do them, I think, especially for maybe if you can do 2 in 1.
Yeah,
you got to keep it up.
Yeah, so was a little under the weather the last couple of days, so we're going to get back to doing that. Carson does a really good job with the Penguins post game on TikTok. Catch us on YouTube here, Facebook Live. We also have our personal Facebook pages that we're on. If you have any questions, you can give us send us a message during the week on either the Best Boys Center Ice podcast or our personal. Let us know how you feel your team's doing. If you're Colorado, if your old boss's team, the Colorado, if he's got some concerns, let us know and we'll talk about it on the podcast. And of course, if you have questions while we're live, we of course encourage that as well. Okay, we're going to wrap things up, and we thank you again for joining us. And in the meantime and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Yeah, meantime.